I was a youthful bride to His Majesty, who once vowed to cherish me until our hair turned white with age. However, he subsequently forgot the 3 palaces and 6 courtyards, none were spared from his affections. It was not until one autumn hunting expedition that he, in a bid to protect his beloved consort Chun, fell from his horse and sustained a grave head injury. Upon awakening, he returned to me with the pristine white fox he had originally intended as a gift for consort Chun, his eyes sparkling with youthful innocence as he presented it to me with great enthusiasm. Yao Yao, this fox is incredibly white and beautiful. Shall I add it to your dowry? 1. When the news of His Majesty's fall from his horse reached the palace, I was still engaged in a game of cards with Consort Shu and Qing Luo. Strangely enough, I have been dreaming of a little girl with double buns who calls me mother. I murmured to myself while shuffling the cards. How peculiar. This dream feels so vivid. Could it be that I truly have a daughter? Consort Shu and Qing Luo exchanged glances and hastily changed the topic. Oh dear. Why must you dream of wanting a daughter? The young prince would be so heartbroken if he knew. One mustn't be greedy, Your Highness. Let us focus on the game. I rubbed my temples and lifted my teacup. Sigh. Perhaps I have been sleeping poorly of late. No sooner had I taken a sip of tea than the flustered eunuch Ji burst into the room. Your Majesty, it is dire news. His Majesty has fallen from his horse while hunting, coughed up blood, and remains unconscious. I furrowed my brow, instantly sensing suspicion. Whenever His Majesty goes hunting, the Imperial Guards are always close by. How could he fall? Eunuch Ji hesitated, his lips trembling. It was the horse of Consort Chun that became startled and went wild. His Majesty rushed to save her and was thrown off. I pressed further. What of Consort Chun? Eunuch Ji's gaze wandered. Consort Chun was protected by His Majesty. She is unharmed. Oh. I nodded. Then let Consort Chun attend to him. I am busy playing cards and have no time. 2. Winter in the capital is often rainy, and for the past few days, my sleep has been restless. Yet, unexpectedly, this night I dreamt of a youthful Li Chingqing. At that time, he was not yet the emperor, merely a carefree prince. He was but a wall away. My childhood companion. In Jinling City, amidst fleeting moments of leisure, he climbed over the wall of the general's residence, presenting me with a precious oil paper package. His garments fluttered. Still youthful. Yao Yao, I have brought you sweet cakes from the shop in the north of the city. His eyes sparkled with delight, as if he had accomplished something remarkable. This is the first batch. I have been waiting since dawn. Many years later, he and I had already drifted into separate dreams. One night, I suddenly recalled the sweet cakes from our youth and shared the memory with Li Chengqing, who was currently seated at my side, reviewing documents. Sweet cakes? He raised an eyebrow, his tone tinged with a hint of melancholy. Your Majesty, you are no longer a young girl. In that moment, I fully grasped his meaning. I was no longer young. At 23, compared to the vibrant young maidens of the palace, I was indeed not youthful anymore. Yet, in many moments when I plucked white hairs from my temples, I would recall Li Chengqing's vows, once whispered so tenderly in my ear. My bond with Yao Yao is deep and enduring. We shall grow old together. Deep and enduring, growing old together. He had failed to fulfill that promise. Human hearts are fickle, changing in the span of mere years. Throughout the palace, it was well known that I was His Majesty's childhood companion, yet remained the uncherished empress. 3. Later, the imperial physician reported that His Majesty was not in grave danger. He had merely struck his head, and upon waking, he might experience amnesia. Oh dear. I paid no mind and continued my game of cards within the palace. Meanwhile, Consort Chun remained at my side, tending to him tirelessly for 6 days. On the 7th day, when Consort Chun came to pay her respects to me, Li Chengqing awoke. He sought me in Kuan-Ning Palace, while Consort Chun was still boasting of her favored status. I truly envy you, dear Empress, living without worries and enjoying your blessings. She sighed, unlike me, who must attend to every matter personally, especially in caring for His Majesty. Consort Chun's features resembled the younger me, particularly when she was proud and assertive. I gazed at her, somewhat entranced, smiled, and instructed Qing Luo to see her out. Consort Chun curtsied gracefully, her every movement exuding charm and allure. After taking a few steps, she suddenly turned back, as if recalling something. Your Majesty. Her eyes held a glimmer of pity. These past days, I have been with His Majesty in the Yangxin Hall, and have heard some stories about you both from the past. Consort Chun sighed. If I were to reach your current standing, I would rather leave the palace. Qing Luo rebuked her, impudent. Do you not know the consequences of your disrespectful words in front of the Empress? Empress? She chuckled as if she had heard something exceedingly amusing. How long has it been since you visited the Yongxin Hall? You must be unaware that there is a decree for your deposition sitting on His Majesty's desk. The scorn on her face was palpable. The eunuchs, palace maids, and consorts frequenting the Yongxin Hall were all well aware. Yet I, the Empress, remained in blissful ignorance. Consort Chun believed she had struck a nerve, bending over with laughter. Your Majesty, how truly pitiable you are. Just then, a furious voice from Li Qingqing echoed from outside the hall. Who are you? How dare you offend the Empress in such a manner? 4. Li Qingqing had lost his memory. His recollections were still anchored in the days before his ascension, during the carefree period of his youth. Yet now, it was the 10th year of Yongning. He had been emperor for 10 years, and everything had changed. Ignoring Consort Chun's protests, he commanded the palace guards to escort her out. If it were not for Yao Yao pleading for you, I would have had you executed. After warning Consort Chun, he turned to me, his eyes alight with joy. Yao Yao. His tone was buoyant, sparkling with anticipation. Have I truly married you? I nodded lightly. Li Qingqing was overjoyed. Like a boy of merely a few years, lifting me effortlessly and twirling me around. I was unprepared for the sudden embrace and instinctively tightened my hold around him. The voluminous golden embroidered gown billowed around us like blooming flowers. His laughter rang clear in my ears, and I could even hear his heartbeat, rapid as a drum. Yao Yao, I am so happy. He chuckled foolishly, nuzzling my neck like an exuberant puppy, tickling me slightly. I have finally married you. Li Qingqing chattered on for a long while. Suddenly, as if realizing something, he asked curiously, on my way here, I noticed that your palace is called Kunning. He hesitated. Why is it not Guanju? He inquired why it was not Guanju Palace. I gazed at his earnest expression, momentarily lost in thought. The youthful Li Qingqing remembered all the promises he had made to me. Because my name contained Yao, he had vowed to build me a Guanju Palace. Guan. The ospreys are on the islet in the river. The graceful and virtuous lady is a match for the gentleman. The young boy recited the ancient love poem, his eyes sparkling with affection. I could not dwell on it further. I averted my gaze for a moment and softly replied, some say Guanju Palace sounds frivolous. He immediately grew anxious. Who said that? 5. This palace was originally named Guanju Palace. That was until the year Consort Chun entered the palace. She hailed from the Cui family, an esteemed clan, and many officials in the court were her family's protégés. Her father was a powerful minister in the court. In contrast, I, the Empress, found myself in a far more dismal situation. The Su family had perished in battle, leaving no surviving heirs. If Li Qingqing wished to become emperor, he could not afford to offend the Cui family. Thus, when Consort Chun slandered me for causing her to lose her child, naturally, no one came to my defense. The clamor for my deposition rose in waves within the court, with many declaring that Empress Su was heartless and unworthy to be the mother of the nation. When Li Qingqing stormed into my chamber, I was bent over my desk writing a petition. He unsheathed his sword and cut through my hairpin, his teeth nearly gritted in anger. Empress, how could you be so jealous? Mother of the nation, where is your motherly virtue? Behind him, Consort Chun wept, her face a portrait of sorrow. I am at a loss as to how I may have offended Her Majesty the Empress. Perhaps it was during my visit to pay my respects half a month ago when I remarked upon the frivolous name of the Guanju Palace, which she has since held against me. Li Qingqing scoffed coldly. My beloved is correct. That name is indeed trivial. He commanded the craftsman to replace the plaque of Guanju Palace. The heavy sign crashed to the ground, shattering into countless pieces. It was well known within the palace that Guanju Palace was the sole favorite of His Majesty towards the Empress. Yet from that moment forth, such favoritism was extinguished. This was her way of asserting her authority over me. The whispers within the palace would now center solely on the profound affection shared between the emperor and Chun Fei. Oblivious to everything, Li Qingqing awaited my response. Meeting his furious gaze, I offered a faint smile. You are not mistaken, I replied. That name is indeed frivolous. Yet, for some reason, tears still streamed down my cheeks. Li Qingqing panicked, grasping my wrist, his voice trembling. Do not cry, Yao Yao, please do not weep. He awkwardly attempted to comfort me. I withdrew my hand from his grasp. I am weary today, Your Majesty. Please return. Li Chengjing remained rooted in place, motionless for a long while. A soft sound echoed as he drew his sword from his side. The blade gleamed, reflecting his reddened eyes. Yao Yao, has someone bullied you all these years? Who is it? I shall slay him. Seeing my silence, he stormed out of the palace, sword in hand, seething with anger. In this palace, I will not allow you to suffer even the slightest grievance. Yao Yao, if you do not tell me, I will seek him out myself. I offered a soft chuckle. Very well, Your Majesty. All injustices reside within this palace. Go, seek them out. 6. The Crown Prince would join me for dinner on the 1st and 15th of each month. Yet today was different. By the time it was nearly dusk, the Crown Prince had yet to appear. Just as I was about to instruct Qing Luo to check the Eastern Palace, a young eunuch stumbled in. Your Majesty, something terrible has happened. The Crown Prince and the second prince quarreled after school, and the Crown Prince fell into the water. When I arrived at the Eastern Palace, the Crown Prince was already burning with fever, unconscious and unaware. He was merely 10 years old. His small face was sunken into the brocade quilt, pallid and devoid of color. The flickering candlelight cast a somber glow in the hall, and only 2 young palace maids stood nearby, holding copper basins to wipe the Crown Prince's sweat. Where is the imperial physician? I surveyed the room, furrowing my brows. The maids trembled as they knelt, their voices tinged with sobs. The second prince is also injured. Chun Fei summoned the entire imperial hospital. I clenched my teeth, tasting blood in my mouth. Chun Fei had gone too far. Just as I was ready to storm towards Yichuan Palace, the Crown Prince grasped my sleeve, whimpering. Mother, I have caused trouble for you. His eyes trembled in fear, tears cascading down. But Li Yan deserves punishment. This matter has nothing to do with you, Mother. Let Father punish me instead. Though he was delirious with fever, he continued to weep. My heart ached as if it were being twisted. He was Li Chengjing's eldest son, bestowed the title of Crown Prince at birth. He should have been exalted and showered with honors. Yet now, due to my own lack of favor as his birth mother, he was being oppressed by a mere second prince. All of this is Mother's fault. I tightened my grip on his small hand, softly promising, I will ensure that everything that belongs to you, Chier, will be restored. The Crown Prince murmured something I could not hear. Li Chengjing favored Chun Fei. Even if I did not care for myself, I must protect my Crown Prince. In the past, I had indeed been at fault. Qing Luo. I removed the jade pendant symbolizing the queen's status from my side. Take this to Yichuan Palace and summon all the physicians to the Eastern Palace. Moreover, the second prince, who disregards his elder brother and is unfilial, is to be brought to the Eastern Palace to apologize immediately. Bring the guards of the Eastern Palace. Those who defy the order shall be met with lethal consequences. 7. Chun Fei arrived with the second prince, weeping and wailing. The second prince had a swollen bruise around his eye. Your Majesty, she cried, her tears flowing like rain. It was the Crown Prince who struck first. There are palace maids and eunuchs outside the study who can testify to this. The Crown Prince clutched my sleeve tightly. I soothingly patted him and rose to the outer hall. The second prince provoked the Crown Prince first. It is only natural for the elder brother to discipline the younger. The Crown Prince, who is of noble stature, nearly drowned in a lake. How can you claim that the second prince harbored no treacherous intent? Chun Fei's eyes widened in disbelief. In the past, when she enjoyed the emperor's favor, I had always kept my distance. I had never before found myself in such a confrontational stance. Bring forth the decree. I spoke coldly. The second prince shall be confined for 6 months for assaulting the Eastern Palace, during which he shall diligently transcribe the 4 books. Chun Fei instantly panicked. The grand ceremony for the heavens would take place in 2 months, and she had been whispering sweet nothings into the emperor's ear, hoping he would take the second prince along to overshadow the Crown Prince. She opened her mouth to speak, but her eyes suddenly sparkled. Your Majesty. Li Chengjing entered, dressed in plain clothes and appearing weary from travel. He must have received the news and rushed over. Your Majesty. Yen Er's appearance has been marred by the Crown Prince's hand, and he nearly lost his sight. The beauty wept, and I found myself filled with pity. Yet the queen wishes to punish Yen Er out of her personal grievances. You must stand up for me. Chun Fei feigned weakness, collapsing towards him. But she fell short. Li Chengjing, startled, stumbled back 3 steps. The eunuch Ji instinctively moved forward to catch her. Chun Fei resisted, changing her direction with a forceful effort. Her fall was so bizarre that she inadvertently twisted her ankle. Li Chengying, still shaken, pointed at Chun Fei, his expression filled with grievance as he complained to me. Yao Yao, I am innocent. She approached me for no reason. Despite Chun Fei not having touched him, he still brushed off his sleeves in disgust, casting a sweeping glance at the astonished palace attendants. What are you all staring at? Whatever the queen commands shall be done. Those who defy the queen shall face death without mercy. The second prince was dragged away, crying, while Chun Fei stared in disbelief, her beautiful eyes wide. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! Yan Er is innocent. Enough noise, Li Chengying frowned. Take her away. After saying this, he cheerfully sat beside me, rummaging in his pocket for a moment before pulling out an oil paper package. Yao Yao, I brought you some sweet cakes. I waited in line for quite a while. As he spoke, his eyes sparkled with delight, devoid of any bitterness. Do try them. They may not compare to those in Jinling, but they're the finest in the capital. I glanced at his plain attire. So, you spent the whole day outside the palace buying sweet cakes? Li Chengjing sheepishly scratched his nose and smiled. I understood why. In our youth, when I was angered and he could not placate me, he would scour the streets for treats to win me over. He had done so for many years. As I gazed at the warm sweet cakes, still radiating heat from being held against his chest, an unfamiliar wave of helplessness washed over me. Li Chengying. I took a deep breath when a small figure suddenly emerged from the inner chamber. I greet you, father and mother. 8. Li Chengjing's previously carefree demeanor faltered. He scrutinized the crown prince's features, curiosity etched upon his face. You are the child of me and Yao Yao? No need for formalities, father. The ground is cold. Please rise so I may see you properly. The crown prince remained kneeling, deeply bowing with his forehead to the floor. Today's incident was instigated by me. I was taken aback, listening as the crown prince continued in a muffled voice. If father wishes to punish me, I bear no resentment. But there is one matter I must address. Li Chengjing was utterly perplexed. What? He inquired. It was the second prince who first slandered Princess Annal in my presence, compelling me to take action. My heart trembled, and a sudden headache struck me. Li Chengjing furrowed his brow. Who is Princess Annal? The crown prince bowed again, responding. She is my younger sister, born of the same mother, merely 5 years of age. Li Chengjing abruptly rose, his face alight with joy. Yao Yao! Why did you not inform me? You have given me another daughter. How splendid! Quickly, take me to meet the little princess. I remained motionless, staring in a daze at the crown prince kneeling before me, murmuring a daughter? Not a single palace servant dared to stir. The night breeze fluttered the drapes within the hall, extinguishing several candles. I turned to see Qingluo, her face awash with tears. What is wrong? Li Chengying asked, bewildered, cautiously adding, is the little princess not close to me? Not at all, your majesty. Just as Li Chengjing breathed a sigh of relief, the crown prince spoke in a hoarse voice. It is simply that Annal is no longer among us. I numbly lowered my gaze, memories long buried beginning to resurface. In the depths of those sealed recollections, a little girl adorned with a red ribbon in her hair, her eyes sparkling like crescent moons, reached out to me with her chubby arms, her voice sweet as honey. Mother, Annal wants a hug. I recalled vividly. Indeed, I once had a daughter. Annal and the second prince were born in the same year. During my pregnancy with her, Chunzi was the favored consort, and my relationship with Li Chengjing had plummeted to an icy abyss. Whispers of Li Chengjing's desire to depose me filled the palace. Even long after Annal's birth, Li Chengjing had not come to see her. I sent Qingluo to convey my messages several times. Each time, Li Chengjing's response was the same. Chunzi is about to give birth. I cannot be absent. For Annal's centennial celebration, Li Chengjing had initially promised to attend, but was unexpectedly detained by the second prince's sudden convulsions and was intercepted by Chunzi's attendants on his way. It wasn't until late at night that he finally emerged from Ichuan Palace, hastily making his way to Kuan-Ning Palace. The night rain fell heavily, and the palace gates were firmly shut. Empress, he called out, standing in the cold rain outside the hall, his voice hoarse. Please allow me to see you and Annal. Just this once? I cradled the weeping little Annal in my arms, merely turning away. Annal is frail, she cannot withstand the cold. Your Majesty, please return, I urged. That night, the lights in Kuan-Ning Palace remained burning, while Li Chungying stood outside the hall all night long, departing hastily only at dawn to attend court. Qing Luo opened the hall doors, letting out a soft gasp. She picked up something from beneath the window and presented it to me. It was a longevity lock. Crafted from white jade, warm to the touch, albeit with somewhat clumsy engravings. Beside it lay an oil paper package containing sweet cakes that had long since cooled. I picked up a piece, tasteless, akin to a promise long expired. The inner palace, in theory, should function as one. Chunzi's family wielded immense power, and Prime Minister Cui held sway over the court. Thus, Li Chungying often found himself yielding. However, I could not bear to see my child become yet another pawn in his political games. The second prince was 7 years old this year, while my Anil would forever remain 5. Anil was inherently kind-hearted, delightful, and beloved by all within the palace. In contrast, the second prince, born of Chunzi, was short and gloomy. He frequently clung to Anil, calling her sister, and Anil, with her tender heart, genuinely regarded him as a little brother. As the years passed, Anil and the second prince began their studies under the same tutor. Anil, possessing remarkable intelligence and an exceptional memory, garnered praise from her instructors. The second prince, however, was dull and clumsy, unable to comprehend or learn, prompting the grand tutor to shake his head in dismay. Coming from a prestigious family, Chunzi could not tolerate her son's shortcomings. To her, it was a tremendous disgrace. She grew increasingly harsh with the second prince, confining him to the palace to study after lessons. Why can't you memorize what that little girl can? How could I have given birth to such a son? Extend your hand. On one occasion, Anil secretly searched for beauty balm within the palace. Upon inquiry, I discovered that the second prince had stolen some opium powder and mixed it into the tea, incapacitating the caretaking palace maids. He then pushed Anil into the well, returning to Yichuan Palace as if nothing had happened. It was only when Xu Fei passed through the imperial garden and saw the fallen palace attendants that she realized something was amiss. The imperial physicians surrounded Anil, blood and water streaming from her mouth and nose, her eyes remaining stubbornly shut. My Anil had drowned. A small, soft, white bundle lay so quietly in my embrace, as though she had simply fallen asleep, yet her hands and feet were cold, devoid of breath. Anil? I called softly, but there was no response. That night was the Qixi festival. When I arrived at the temporary palace, Li Chungying was holding Chunzi with one hand and cradling the second prince with the other, enjoying the lanterns with laughter and mirth. The news from the palace had likely not reached this place yet. Your Majesty, I said softly, standing behind them, cradling the cold Anil. Li Chungying turned sharply. It was in that moment that I lunged forward, my hidden sword piercing the second prince's throat. A dull thud echoed as blood erupted from his neck, his eyes widening in shock. A swift strike to the throat. Blood flowed down the blade, staining my hand. The second prince crumpled like a chicken with a broken neck, his head drooping lifelessly. Chunzi screamed in terror, an assassin. Protect the emperor quickly. Archers, prepare. Li Chungying shouted. Wait. He seemed to sense something was amiss, his voice trembling. Empress, what has happened? I replied, Anil is dead. I lifted my gaze coldly to the shrieking Chunzi. Your son has slain my daughter, and thus I have come to claim your son's life. Everything was drenched in crimson. The imperial guards finally encircled me, and the heavy hilt of a sword struck the back of my head. The last sight I beheld was Li Chungying's anguished expression. When I awoke, I gazed blankly at the small white jade longevity lock beside my pillow. What is this? I then looked at the half-knitted tiger hat on the table, furrowing my brow. Is this what I was knitting for cheer? It seems too small. Xu Fei's eyes widened in surprise. The second prince, whom I had silenced with a single strike, should have undoubtedly perished, yet, unbeknownst to me, the Cui family had intervened, and he was now alive and well, as clever as ever. As if he had transformed into a different person. The Cui family pressured Li Chungying, and this matter ultimately faded into obscurity. As for the little hats and shoes, Qing Luo and Xu Fei tucked them away, sharing a tacit understanding, never again mentioning them before me. Anil's name became a taboo within the palace, as if it were merely a fleeting dream I had forgotten. As the last word of the crown prince fell, an eerie silence enveloped the hall. I gazed blankly at the crown prince, who knelt on the ground, his arms streaked with tears. "Mother, do not forget Annel," he implored. "She is all alone, frightened, and in tears." I hoarsely inquired, "Where is Annel buried?" With a downcast gaze, he replied, "At Phoenix Terrace." Yet another forbidden name. The facade of tranquility was torn asunder, revealing a blood-soaked reality beneath. Li Chiqing could no longer maintain a facade of indifference as he clutched the armrest of the grand chair, his breaths coming in rapid, strained gasps. "Our daughter is dead," quietly, without a sound. Li Chunqing opened his mouth. "Has it always been this way since Chuanfei entered the palace?" He posed the question to me, yet it felt as though he were murmuring to himself. "What should I do, Yao Yao? What am I to do?" I pressed my fingertips to my temples, closing my eyes in silence. "Li Chiqing, they say there is a decree for your demotion on the desk in Yongxin Hall. Have you not seen it since you awoke from your slumber?" He fell silent. The answer lingered just out of reach. Suddenly, I stood and moved towards the hall's exit. Li Chunqing anxiously followed. "Yao Yao, where are you going? If you do not even believe the demotion decree you penned yourself, then I shall take you on a journey through familiar grounds," I declared. "Let me tell you what has transpired in these past 10 years. I lifted a palace lantern, casting a quiet glance back. "Do not evade the truth any longer, Your Majesty." As we walked, we paused before a peony garden, where Li Chunqing halted his steps. "Yao Yao." He hesitated. "When did you come to favor peonies? I remember you used to break out in rashes at the mere sight of them." Before I could respond, he suddenly pressed his forehead, murmuring to himself, "I always felt there should be a grove of peach blossoms here." I chuckled softly and replied, "Indeed, there once was a grove of peach blossoms here, transplanted from Jinling in the first year of Yongning. On the night of our wedding, we lay intoxicated in that grove." Li Chingqing's shoulders trembled slightly. Maintaining my tone, I continued, "Alas, that is no more. The entire palace is devoid of peach blossoms. Chuanfei does not favor them. She prefers peonies." The peonies swayed gently in the night breeze. There was so much more to show him. I led him through the desolate Eastern Palace, past the newly constructed Ichuan Palace, which remained lit, and to the high platform he had built for me in his first year of reign. That had once been one of the promises made by the youthful Li Chiqing. He had said the red walls of the palace obscured the vast sky, and thus he would construct a high platform for me, so I could gaze upon the heavens each day. "Let us call it Phoenix Terrace, shall we?" The young emperor mused, sketching out our future with each stroke. "Phoenixes in flight, a couple in love, just like you and me. We vowed to be deeply devoted to each other, growing old together in harmony." That year, I was but 15, accompanying him on a 3-month journey to the capital, a place foreign to me. I stood by him as he ascended the high platform, taking his place upon that frigid golden throne, the shouts of "Long live the Emperor" nearly drowning me. The visage of the youth before me began to blur. In his first year of reign, my family remained stationed at the northern frontier for the stability of the realm. Li Chiqing, honoring his promise to me, sacrificed his own comforts, using the funds designated for the reconstruction of the Golden Muan Hall to build Guanju Palace, where only I resided. He was busy, yet fearing my solitude in the palace, he always carved out time to accompany me to Phoenix Terrace. By year's end, I bore the crown prince. Li Chunqing was overjoyed. He was named Qi at birth, a treasure bestowed upon him by the heavens. That year remains vividly etched in my memory, perhaps the year Li Chiqing adored me the most. In the second year, the Xiongnu invaded, and Li Chiqing, alongside the Su and Zhao families, took to the battlefield, while the other clans led by the Cui family advocated for peace, leading to a fierce dispute. Li Chunqing became increasingly occupied, his hair beginning to show signs of gray. In the third year, war broke out between the court and the Xiongnu. Yet the supplies and reinforcements were delayed, arriving too late. Once the conflict settled, the Su family was decimated and the Zhao family severely weakened. The military was scattered, leaderless. The court found itself bereft of capable individuals, leaving Li Chunqing isolated and reliant on the powerful families. In the spring of the fourth year, the eldest daughter of the Cui family was sent to the palace and granted the title of Chuanfei. Subsequently, many daughters from noble families followed suit. Xu Fei, hailing from the Zhao family, a family of military officials, was once my close friend. I was taken aback to learn she had also entered the palace. She had always despised constraints, reveling in wine, horse riding, and visiting the Namphong Pavilion. The palace's multitude of rules felt akin to torture for her. She had no need to enter. I hurried to see her, but she had anticipated my inquiries. Grasping my hand tightly, Yao, I have come to accompany you." The usually carefree woman had tears in her eyes. "I have heard that your days in the palace are not easy." Chuanfei was spoiled and arrogant, leveraging her family's prominence to constantly challenge me and establish her authority within the palace. Li Chiqing was infatuated with Chuanfei, spending every night in Yichuan Palace, favoring her in all matters, nearly reducing me, the empress, to a mere shadow. The entire palace knew of my lack of favor while Chuanfei basked in his affection. The Chui family was pleased with his compliance, and Li Chunqing finally secured his precarious throne. Only in the quiet moments of an afternoon's rest do I occasionally recall that night when, at 15, I left Jinling with Li Chunqing for the capital. The stars were sparse, and the night breeze was cool. The white horse drew the carriage towards an uncertain future. I nestled close to Li Chiqing, like two small creatures seeking warmth. In my naivety, I asked him, "When we reach the capital, if you truly become emperor, will you take many concubines and forget me?" The youthful prince was momentarily taken aback before he grasped my hand firmly. "No, I promise." Fearing my disbelief, he raised 4 fingers in a vow. "Yao, if that day ever comes, you must kill me, ensuring I meet a wretched end." The night breeze swept over the decayed Phoenix Terrace. The phoenix had long since departed, leaving behind a tangled mess of weeds, decay, and fireflies. Li Chiqing stood in the night wind, gazing up at the forsaken high platform. The phoenix once soared above. Now, the terrace lay empty and the river flowed on. 10 years have passed, and between Li Chunqing and me lies an insurmountable chasm. A divide formed by youthful oaths, by the weight of noble lineage and imperial power, and by the desolation of Phoenix Terrace. Beneath it, my Annel rests. She was but 4 years old when she departed this world. My little girl shall never grow up. Now it is too late to turn back. Li Chiqing. He turned, his attire reminiscent of the past, yet he was no longer the youth I once knew. I heard my own voice, hoarse and fragile, echoing in the night wind like a fleeting specter. "Would you be willing to die for me?" In the palace, rumor spread that the emperor and empress had taken a night stroll to Phoenix Terrace, parting on ill terms. That night, His Majesty stayed in Yichuan Palace, favoring Chuanfei once more. The following day, clad in simple garments with my hair unbound, I made my way to Yangxin Hall, only to find Li Chiqing still engaged in flirtation with Chuanfei. "Your Majesty," I called out. Chuanfei lay dreamily against his arm, feeding him grapes. "Your Majesty," I repeated calmly. "Have you remembered everything?" Li Chunqing looked up at me, his lips stained with grape juice, resembling a foolish ruler. "Indeed, I remember everything," he replied with a smile, a sigh escaping him. "Empress, you are no longer young." His next words suddenly became light. "Empress, do you have anything you wish to say to me?" I remained composed. "Yes." I stepped forward, presenting the items before him. It was the Empress's golden seal and treasures, beneath which lay a decree of divorce. Chuanfei gasped in shock. She clung tightly to Li Chungjing's arm, her eyes glinting with malicious glee. Li Chungjing gazed at me in silence, unable to utter a word. As he bowed, a myriad of faces and events from the past decade danced before my eyes like a revolving lantern. The strings of fate snapped, the mirror shattered, the morning dew dissipated. The fragrant moments ceased. Through the distant corridors of time, I parted my lips, reminiscent of my youthful self, transcending the ages to speak. "Hearing that you have 2 intentions, I have come to sever our ties." In my peripheral vision, I caught sight of that decree of deposing the Empress. Whether by design or chance, it lay in the center of the long table, the most conspicuous spot in the entire Yangxin Hall. Suddenly, Li Chungjing stood up, startling Chuanfei, who looked at him in confusion. "Everything is just fine. Su Yao, your resolve is indeed commendable." He laughed in exasperation, gripping my chin. Yet his gaze was steeped in sorrow. "If you desire to be deposed, I shall grant your wish. Summon the decree. Empress Su, the heavens do not favor you. You are ornate yet hollow, unworthy to serve the ancestral temple, nor to embody the world as a mother. Henceforth, you are deposed to the status of a commoner, confined to the cold palace, permitted to leave only upon death. This night, the game is being played with such ferocity. In the cold palace, I, Qingluo, and the stealthily entered Shufei gathered for another round of cards. Tomorrow's grand ceremony for the heavens. I hear His Majesty intends to bring the crown prince along. Shufei chattered, sharing tidings from outside. She seemed somewhat gleeful. Chuanfei's whispers over the past 2 months have been in vain. She must be furious. This marked the 7th day of my confinement in the cold palace. Within and beyond the palace walls, beneath the facade of tranquility, currents of unrest surged. A storm was brewing. That night, Li Chengxing sent a jade ring as a token. The palace maids and eunuchs stationed outside remarked that the deposed empress would never rise again. They said the ring symbolized a severed bond. His Majesty wished for our fates to be irrevocably parted. The jade ring felt warm to the touch, and I stared at it in the candlelight for a long while. After finishing the card game, Shufei leaned in. This is causing quite a stir. What does that dog emperor mean? I smiled softly. His meaning is clear. I must not hesitate, but act decisively. The ring symbolizes resolution. When plans are made, decisions must be executed. Shufei hesitated, muttering something, yet nodded in agreement. This is somewhat reminiscent of the Li Chengxing I know. In the night, 100 dark guards clad in silver armor suddenly revealed themselves. The leader, gazing at the jade ring in my hand, knelt before me. The shadow guards of the imperial city, at His Majesty's command, are here to protect the Empress. No need, I replied calmly. All of you go guard the Eastern Palace. The moonlight shone brightly. Perhaps this was the last peaceful night in the palace. In a distant place, a faint light flickered in Yongxin Hall. Suddenly, I yearned to see Li Chengxing. I spent the night sleepless. At the 4th watch, unusual activity stirred at the palace gates. At this hour, the civil and military officials should have been waiting outside the Chengtian gate for the emperor's carriage to exit the palace. Your Highness, the Chui family's carriages have entered the palace, demanding the crown prince's installation. I sprang to my feet and walked to the hall's entrance. The sky was dark, yet a woman clad in black armor rode in on a white horse. Qingluo widened her eyes in astonishment. Is that Shufei? I shook my head with a smile. She dislikes the title Shufei. Let us call her Zhao Xiao. As I spoke, Zhao Xiao dismounted and performed a martial salute before me. The Zhao clan pledges allegiance to Her Highness. She slightly raised her hand, revealing half of a tiger talisman. The other half I had just dispatched someone to retrieve from the Su family shrine. The talisman was cold and hard against my palm. Just then, palace attendants watching Yongxin Hall rushed in with news. Chuanfei's attempt to install the crown prince has failed. She poisoned His Majesty. Flames flickered closer, illuminating the scene. Zhao Zhao's father stood guard at a side gate, flanked by numerous youthful faces. Our fathers and brothers had fought side by side many times before. This time would be no different. The Zhao family, seemingly in retreat after the Su family's annihilation, had actually been biding their time, waiting for this day. They had awaited this moment for long. In the night breeze, I heard my own resolute voice. The traitorous Chui family has disrupted the court, committed heinous acts, and poisoned the emperor. Their crimes are unforgivable. Let all who follow me storm the palace and slay these unfilial traitors. Meanwhile, Chuanfei's father received the news of the emperor's poisoning. His eyes widened in disbelief. How could this be? How could this be? With the Chui family's power. As long as it was not a case of regicide in open court, they could suppress any matter. This time would be no different. They knew Li Chengxing's temperament all too well. The carriages approached the palace gates. The empress had been deposed, leaving the crown prince adrift like a leaf on water. Li Chengxing pondered the pros and cons, determining that the second prince must be named heir. Furthermore, this would showcase the Chui family's overwhelming power. Yet, at this critical juncture, Li Chengxing lay dead, slain by the daughter of the Chui family. One misstep, and all was lost. He muttered to himself, impossible. Chuanfei could not have killed Li Chengxing. He was likely pondering why this puppet emperor, who had been functioning well, suddenly perished. Little did he know that on a night half a month prior, the wind had swept across the desolate Phoenix Terrace, lifting the young emperor's sleeves. In response to my probing, Li Chengxing had smiled with utmost satisfaction. The youthful spirit reminiscent of clear winds and bright moons flickered back to life in his eyes. Like a stunning swan gliding across the water, he said, Yao Yao. To die for you is the greatest honor. Li Chengxing had poisoned himself. As dawn broke, the palace was awash in blood. The treacherous Chui family was eradicated, their heads to be displayed publicly after the autumn verdict. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. Chuanfei had long lost her former grace, her hair disheveled and her body drenched in blood. She screamed helplessly, "I did not harm His Majesty." I smiled. The servants of Yongxin Hall witnessed it. His Majesty bled profusely after drinking the wine you fed him. What more can you say? Chuanfei seethed. During the evening meal, His Majesty came into contact with many food and water sources. How can you arbitrarily conclude it was my doing? The remaining civil and military officials, now distancing themselves from the Chui family, cast uncertain glances. Is that so? I clapped my hands. Bring forth the witnesses. Chuanfei's resentful gaze transformed into shock. For the one brought forth was the second prince. He staggered to a standstill, expressionless as he pointed at Chuanfei. Yesterday, at the hour of the hare, my grandfather sent someone to deliver a packet of poison to my mother, saying that if father did not name me crown prince, he would poison him and allow my mother to rule. The crowd gasped in astonishment. Utter nonsense. Chuanfei trembled with rage. You little bastard. You are not my son. With both witness and evidence present, this wicked woman dares to argue. Bring her here. I commanded coldly. Cut out her tongue. Chuanfei's screams abruptly ceased. I turned to the second prince. You did well. Let it be known that misfortune shall not befall children. Qingluo, take him to Kuanning Palace for his reward. The second prince departed, expressing his gratitude profusely. I chuckled coldly within. Why had the second prince, whom I had once silenced with a sword, survived? Xu Fei shared my bewilderment. She conducted a secret investigation, leading to an unexpected revelation. The second prince had been swapped. Chuanfei had bled profusely during childbirth and could bear no more children. After the second prince's death, fearing for her status in the palace, she had substituted him with a child from the Chui family's younger generation, one who bore a resemblance to the second prince in age, appearance, and stature. Unfortunately, he was a mediocre child. Externally, Chuanfei exerted great effort to fabricate a reputation for him as clever and astute. Internally, as he was not her flesh and blood, she treated him with disdain, beating and scolding him without restraint whenever things did not go her way. He harbored a deep-seated hatred for Chuanfei. After today's incident, he even took the initiative to approach Qingluo, expressing his willingness to testify in exchange for his life when the Chui family sought vengeance. He may not be particularly clever, but he is a child of considerable cunning. This boy must not be spared. Within the confines of Kuanning Palace, there is no notion of reward, only the presence of Zhao Xiao overseeing affairs. In her youth, she trained in martial arts alongside me at the Su residence. The swift and lethal swordplay of the Su family, she mastered exceptionally well. Once matters were settled, I went to bid farewell to Li Qingjing for the last time. "Yao Yao, you have come," he said, his face pale, yet dark crimson blood continuously oozed from the corners of his lips. I stared at him in a daze for quite some time, then suddenly reached out and tore away the strands of white hair at his temples. At 25 years of age, I am 2 years his junior. He is merely 27 this year. Ouch, Li Chengying mumbled plaintively. That hurts, Yao Yao. I clenched my palm tightly, striving to maintain a steady tone. If you fear pain so much, why not choose a quicker poison? He smiled, reminiscent of our youth when he playfully chided me for lacking romantic sensibility, gently tapping my nose. Because I fear dying too quickly and not having the chance to see you one last time. Hey, why are you crying? Flustered, Li Chengying attempted to wipe my tears, but the movement caused him to cough, clutching his chest. Don't cry. Can I share a secret with you? I stifled my tears. What is it? He blinked and lowered his voice. Yao Yao, if I tell you that I have never wavered in my heart and have never forgotten in love, would you believe me? He gazed at me intently, a hint of anxiety in his expression. Upon my nod, Li Chengying smiled, as if releasing his final burden, his entire being growing limp. Now that the court is at peace, it is left to you and the crown prince. This is good, I feel reassured. But the Chui family's connections are intricate, and one must not let their guard down. He continued to impart his advice for quite a while, before his tone softened. Yao Yao, I truly know I was wrong. Li Chengying, like a young boy, cautiously tugged at my sleeve. In the next life, I don't want to be born into a royal family. Will I still be able to see you? Tears streamed down my face as I trembled, grasping his pale, frail hand. Yes, I choked out, but you must buy me many sweet cakes. Suddenly, Li Chungjing smiled. That smile was exceedingly gentle, soft, and pure, devoid of any shadow. It was as if, on an utterly ordinary afternoon, he was gleefully scaling the walls of the general's residence, carrying a paper-wrapped package. His garments fluttered. Still the boy he once was. Li Qingjing's voice gradually diminished. In these years, I have committed too many foolish acts. I will first go and apologize to my father-in-law and brothers, then prepare our future home. He lightly arched his brows and eyes. Do not cry, Yao Yao. Until we meet again in the next life. That icy hand fell away, and I could no longer suppress my sobs. Knowing he could not hear me, I stubbornly leaned closer to whisper in his ear, "You must wait for me, Li Chungying." When I lifted my gaze, I was taken aback. In the depths of Li Qingjing's bedchamber were several faded, disjointed lines etched into the surface. Years had passed, engravings hidden deep. Do not fail, Yao Yao. Do not forget Enlo. Prepare a path for Chier. On the day of Zhao Zhao's farewell, the peach blossoms began to bloom in the capital. Yao. She rode a white horse, carefree and laughing, just as she did in her youth. I am truly weary of this deep palace. I shall guard the northern frontier for you. Goodbye. As Qing Luo finished pouring the farewell wine, she turned to see Zhao Xiao galloping away, anxiously stamping her feet. Why run so fast, Your Highness? Look at her. I merely smiled, wandering souls, unconcerned with trivialities. As Zhao Xiao rode, she suddenly turned back and shouted to us. Yao! Qing Luo! She waved vigorously, the old red ribbon on her wrist fluttering in the wind. That was in Li's old possession. She declared her intention to take Enlo beyond the palace walls to see the free and beautiful world. Please tell Chier to work hard. His aunt and sister both miss him. We are leaving. With the emperor's passing, the crown prince ascended the throne, marking the beginning of the Changning era. Empress Dowager Su presided over state affairs. From that moment on, peace reigned in all directions and tranquility enveloped the land. The end of the narrative. Thank you for listening. And until we meet again in the next story.